Veteran Trash Talk, we actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a Butterbar lieutenant lost on a land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Everybody's having a great weekend. Hope great Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend and celebrated Mother's Day. And it's really great to all the mothers out there. I want to say happy belated Mother's Day, and thank you for all that you do, and also for all the stay-at-home dads like myself. I want to say thank you to them too, also. But with that, before we jump into the show, we got to get some things out of the way here. We got a guest tonight, Matt. You guys super excited to hear about his story and also what he's been doing lately with ice bath and things like that. And it's super healthy and super fun. But hey, let's jump right into it. See the QR code up there in the upper left for Reads Across America. That's a great program they have that during the holiday season to memorialize the veterans out there. For as little as $5-10, you can scan that QR code and you can make sure that a wreath is placed on the tombstone during the holiday season. Along with that, you can also personalize one too. As you all know, that Reads Across America also has a radio station. And they replay my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. And it's super easy to find. You just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app and search for Reads. For Reads Across America Radio for not only mine and Lynn's great podcast, but all the great podcasts and shows they have out there. I talk about it a lot. You got 10th Mountain Bourbon. They just won several awards with their bourbon and their spirits in this last competition they had. I saw an email on it, so congratulations to them. And if you'd like to, we're going to share their on the upper left on the thing. We'll share the link to their website and also a QR code to save you a little bit of money. And in the beginning, you saw the Veterans to Mortgage video. Let's see, the double gold for their bourbon, 98 points at San Francisco World Finals. So there you go. That's the 10th Mountain Bourbon. I'm not a big bourbon drinker, but they kind of made me switch to bourbon. But hey, finance, interest rates and things are going to be coming down. So if you think about refinance your mortgage and stuff, you saw the video, scan that QR code there and give them a check out. PCS to Paradise, they're all out there in Hawaii. You can scan that QR code, maybe go find a good vacation home and see what else is going on. But hey, with that, Lynn, you're back on the show. You missed last week because you were working. Happy to have you back on today. And so happy that you were able to get Matt on the show. So why don't you give the audience a quick update about what's going on with you? And we'll jump right into it.
So real quick, with Reads Across America, they're also doing flags for Memorial Day weekend. So if you have a national cemetery near you, make sure to, if you can, volunteer. They're looking for volunteers to do that. So they do the flags on Memorial Day weekend. I think they do it on 4th of July too. Not sure. But definitely in December, they put the wreaths on there.
I know when I lived in Hampton, Virginia, I did that, place the flags on Memorial Day weekend at the Veterans Cemetery there.
So this past weekend was really awesome. Of course, Memorial Day weekend is coming up. So in Duval County, we have this huge event. It's called Boots on Ground. And so what it is, it's a parade essentially. And for the people who ride motorcycles, it's a poker run. So they have maybe 1,000 boots, and they're combat boots, used combat boots, and they put them on the ground and line up the parade route. And every boot has a memorial of somebody, like a picture and that person's story, like where they're from and when they were killed in action. It started off with the firefighters and the New York Police Department, their boots, and honored all of them. And 9/11 it was really emotional ride. It was my first time doing it, and you either sign up to ride as a motorcycle or as a Jeep. So obviously I had my Jeep. So I rode with my Marine friend, and like at the end, she's like, "Oh, you're Navy. You Ubered me around." So I was like, "Oh my
That's
god, I
funny.
did not even realize that." But it's a good event, great event. Lots of veteran organizations. If you're not familiar with Duval County in Jacksonville, Florida, it's huge veteran presence. There's lots of resources out there to veterans. So Boots on Ground, it helps different nonprofits like K9 for Warriors, Wreaths Across America, things like that. So I was really honored to participate in that.
Well, that's
And
really awesome. Happy you did that. It sounds like it was a great, fun experience. Hey, quick note that if you're going to help put the flags out either on Memorial Day or 4th of July, bring your backpack. Makes it a whole lot easier carrying all the flags in your back.
true. Bring
Yeah.
some water because it's hot out there.
And water. Yeah, that's true.
And in Florida. What else? Other updates. Oh, I wanted to update also about Irreverent Warriors. We're doing a friends and family outing.
Oh, I heard
So
about
it's
that.
a FAFO. And so every major city is doing it. It's a virtual run, virtual 5K, and it's a fundraiser. But we're gonna do ours in person. So if you're a veteran out there in Florida, Northeast Florida, or South Georgia, come on out. Friends and family outing is going to be a great time. It's the first time ever we're hosting. We're allowing friends and family members and children to hike with us. They're essentially hiking on their own because it's a virtual 5K, and it'll be a great time.
Sounds like a really great time. You'll always enjoy the virtual runs and stuff. But before we jump into Matt, I noticed that I said that had a big announcement to make tonight about the podcast and what's going to go on in the future with it. So sadly, tonight's going to be the last podcast that we're going to have on Monday. We're moving the podcast to Wednesdays due to some scheduling changes with the producer and just life changes. So the podcast will now be live next week, starting on Monday. And for the summer, maybe we'll move it back to Monday. We'll see. But right now, we're going to move it to Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we have a very special guest on. She's an 85-year-old Vietnam veteran nurse who wrote several books about her experience of being a nurse in Vietnam. We're losing so many
Wow.
Vietnam veterans. And so I'm so looking forward to the podcast next week and to listen to her story and what she went through, because it's a story that we're losing. We're losing a lot of the Vietnam veterans now, and a lot of them don't tell their stories or talk about their stories, rightfully so, because of the way they were treated when they came home. And so I'm really honored to have her come on the show next week, and it's really going to be a great show. But after all that, after that announcement, let's jump right in. Matt, why don't you tell us, audience, about yourself and why you're here and what you're doing and all the great things that you do. And of course, I put out there a little advertisement, that little saying that you always say, and I'll let you go ahead and talk about yourself and talk about that. And then we'll just have a great conversation.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, first and foremost. My name is Matt Scally. I'm the local coordinator for Reverend Warriors in San Antonio. I'm also a U.S. Air Force veteran and a father of two awesome daughters. I've been on a journey for the past couple of years, trying to reinvent myself and find a better way of living this life post-military, which is not always an easy thing to do. But I think I found some things that work for me, and I've had the honor and pleasure of being able to share it with a lot of other veterans through Irreverent Warriors and the Grunt Style Foundation. So one of the big things that really helped me on my journey was finding cold plunging or cold water immersion therapy. It's It's been quite a ride, but the more I learn about it, the more I'm realizing that uh, the methods that we've used in the past, the traditional standard of care that we've come to accept, is not acceptable. And whether it's the standard of care or the prescription medications, they obviously have a place in our healthcare system. But I am a firm believer that it should not be the first stop. There's so many different things that we can do before we get to that point, and I don't think we, just as a community, take advantage of that nearly enough. So I'm on a mission now to educate as many people as I can and get them to take the plunge and hopefully improve their life for the better.
Matt, that's a great point you bring up, and we do talk about that here on the Mental Health Warrior because, like we talked earlier on the show, I'm a big herbalist. Anybody watch the shows, I talk about natural healing and allowing your body naturally to heal through, grounding, through, taking honey for allergies or making your own homemade antibiotics. People don't realize that garlic and oregano is a powerful antibiotic. And so we kind of lost that history out there, how we used to live. And so I think it's very important to get back to that because I think really healing your body naturally has so many more benefits. And if you're somebody like myself that has PTSD or TBI or other things, you soon find out just how important that can be. I'm 55 years old and by every right, I should be on 9 or 10 different medications by now. And I take nothing, absolutely nothing. Now I'm not anti-doctor. I had an infection in my eye and I went to the eye doctor to get that looked at. But I am anti-over medication. And I think sometimes in the VA, they prescribe things. And a lot of times the doctors don't really pay too close attention to the medication they're prescribing you. And sometimes they can have adverse effects when you take two of the same medications. And so if you don't educate yourself on the medications you're taking, it can have detrimental effects on you.
Yeah. So Matt, tell us, what is a cold plunge for the people who don't know what that is? What is that?
So cold plunging is self-inflicted torture. It's basically immersing your body into ice cold water, which is considered 59 degrees or below for a short period of time, which sounds crazy. It is a little bit crazy, but the benefits that it provides are second to none. I tell a lot of people, if I can offer you a pill that can improve your circulation, reduce inflammation, improve brain health, and improve your mood, people would pay thousands of dollars for that one pill. And the good news about it is you don't have to pay anything. All you have to do is suffer for a few minutes in ice cold water, and the benefits are all free.
We were talking about before the show started. When I was in Finland, they had the cold plunge, a little pool there. It's about the size of a hot tub, and then they had the hot tub next to it, and they had a little sign there. It says, go in the water for maybe 30 seconds, and get out and you get another tub, and just try to build your tolerance up to it. And I tell you what, I hadn't done the full body plunge. I do the ice water on my face and some other things since I moved here to Napoli because I just don't have that availability here. But there's other things you could do. But man, I'm telling you what, the first time you go into that, it gets your attention.
Oh, yes. It'll shock the system immediately.
Yeah. And you start feeling the tingling, right? And then when you get out and you go into the warm water, then, start warming yourself back up. It's truly amazing feeling. And there in Finland, kids were getting in there and doing it along with their parents. I mean, and they just jump into it. I mean, now when we were in Finland, we was up in the Arctic Circle. So in the wintertime, it's minus 60 degrees Celsius, so they're probably used to them. That's probably warm water.
I remember I used to run marathons. Remember that back in the day? 26.2 miles. So after a marathon, I immediately get into my tub, fill it up with cold water and ice, and I sit in there for a while just to recover from that marathon. That's a lot on your body. And so I didn't call it a cold plunge. It was just a recovery for me. And I didn't really dip my entire body in there, probably just waist down.
But in football and wrestling, I wrestled in college. We used to have the ice boots where you put the water and the ice in there, and you put your feet in there, and they circulate the water around. But then we had the tubs too that you would sit in; they would fill up full of ice. And it wasn't until later on in life I really, when you're young, you just don't think about it, right? You just jump in there because that's what the trainer tells you to do. The benefits of that.
Yeah, the cold plunging actually dates all the way back to the Roman armies. The Roman armies used to use their bathhouses that was full of cold water to recover and prepare for their next battle. So they had it right way back then. And just like we were talking about before with the prescription medication, it seems like the further down the self-care rabbit hole we go, the more we tend to reference the past and do the same things that they were doing, hundreds and thousands of years ago.
Well, it's one thing, people don't realize that cayenne pepper is a very powerful herb and actually heals the blood and actually heals the vessels in your body. It will actually stop, bleeding. It'll stop a heart attack. And, that's something that I've started taking this past year and a half, 2 years now, is I take, cayenne pepper every day. But it's amazing how it affects your circulation. I never would have thought that till I discovered it and figured it out. Turmeric is another one that's really good, and also ginger. But it's just looking at things differently. And one thing I talk about is everybody's different, right? Everybody's bodies reacts to things differently. My body's different than Lynn's, obviously, and your body's different than mine, Matt. So you just got to really find out what works well for you. But one thing I've noticed about cold plunge, it doesn't matter what body type you are, it works for you irregardless.
Yes. The cold does not discriminate. It hits everybody.
So what kind of, like, when you started doing cold plunges, what kind of immediate effects did you see, and why did you start doing it? What got you into it?
So as I was on my self-care journey, it really started with a mentor of mine who, we were discussing kind of where I was and what my goals were. And he basically sat me down and said, listen, you're acting like a wounded healer. Like you are so broken and all you're doing is trying to fix other people. But you're going to be limited because you're not working on yourself at all. And you're just using everyone else as a distraction. Then he recommended a book to me, The 4 Agreements, which is an amazing book.
Yeah, Will recommended that to me. I'm reading that right now.
Oh, it is. It's great. I try to read it. I start every year by reading it in January, just as a refresher to kind of refocus. But that really got me engaged with reading. And I came across this book called What Doesn't Kill Us by Scott Carney. And basically the book is about Scott Carney is an investigative journalist, and he actually went over to Europe with the intention of visiting Wim Hof and trying to debunk his position on cold plunging. And as he was doing that, he realized it's not a gimmick. This stuff actually works. So reading that book, he goes into a lot of detail about the benefits of cold plunging, the benefits of high elevation training. And I got really interested in, seeing if those benefits, it was kind of my turn to fact check him. So I went out and I got a little inflatable cold plunge for like $90 and about 100 pounds of ice. And I filled it up, and my wife laughed and thought I was crazy. And I jumped in and I was like, oh, this is terrible. And then when I got out, I felt amazing. My joints didn't hurt anymore. I could like fully move again.
Wow.
And I was like, I was in like the best mood I've been in a long time. So I was like, all right, I need to know more. Then I started digging deep and reading more books and searching the internet for the whys of what was making me feel like this. That's when I started discovering a lot of the benefits of cold plunging. And I decided, pretty quickly that like I needed to make this a part of my daily routine. So I started.
How long do you do it for every day?
So I do a cold plunge every morning for 3 minutes. The most of the studies I've seen suggest that your target goal should be around 11 minutes per week. And however you want to divide that up, it's just based on your circumstances and your really your schedule.
That's a lot of ice. So you use ice every single day, or
Yeah,
do you
really.
just use cold water?
Ice isn't easy to come by here in Italy.
Well, that was the beginning. So I've since upgraded to a much more expensive cold plunge tub that is very heavily insulated. So now, once I get it down to temperature, I only have to add ice every day or two, and it's not a very large amount of ice. I actually have these silicone molds that make 7-pound ice cubes. So I use
Wow.
those.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Well, Joe Rogan talks about the ice baths, quite a bit. So Matt, why are you taking ice baths? Are you a runner? Are you a triathlete? I mean, what are you ice bathing for? Or are you doing it for mental health?
So I do it mostly for mental health. I noticed early on that the days that I cold plunge are much better days overall, mentally and physically. If I was in a rush and I had to skip a day, it's by lunchtime, I am not the same person. I'm tired. I get very irritable. It's just not a fun experience. So it's pretty amazing how big the difference is. But I do it mostly for mental health. I do a lot of weight training in the mornings, and there are some benefits to cold plunging prior to workouts. And that's another cool thing we can talk about with cold plunging is it's really customizable to your goals. There's not one set target. Depending on the time of day you do it, the length, all of it can be very customized to suit your needs.
That's funny. Your dog made it come into the picture there behind you. If you don't have the availability of having we talked about this early on in the podcast before we came on the air, but if you don't have the availability of a bathtub to climb into a bathtub and dunk yourself, putting your face into, a bowl of ice cold water can also have benefits too. I've been reading about that and I've been doing that myself here in Italy because first of all, ice, ghiaccio is not readily available here. So, there's different ways you can do cold plunges. And so you just got to find out what best works for you and your situation.
Yes, absolutely. And dunking your face into cold water is actually a great alternative. There are cold shock proteins that are in your nose that are connected to the vagus nerve. So just by dunking your head for a short period of time in cold water will activate those cold shock proteins. And it has the same effect. You're basically tricking your brain into thinking that your whole body is in cold water. And it will start its vasoconstriction and sending all the blood away from your arms and legs and into your organs, get it nice and warm, and then it will slow down your heart rate at the same time. So if you're stressed or in a high stress situation, and you take 20 seconds to just submerge your face and come out, it'll be like a full reset. It's pretty amazing how something that simple can change the immediate time that you're in.
Well, I'm a big Barbara O'Neill fan. I don't know if you follow her or know much about her. She's a big herbalist, and she was banned on a lot of the social media with her thoughts on doing the old ways. And she talks about 3 chakras of your body a day to stimulate your brain growth, your mental health, and other stuff. And one of them was, if you're not sticking your face in a bowl of ice water, just right before you get out of the shower, switch it to cold water.
I was just gonna say that because I do that.
So then you go like, and
I take
that's
scalding
enough.
hot showers where it like melts your skin off. I love
Of course,
hot
you're a
showers.
female.
But then at the very end of my shower, I switch it to super cold. So I'm wondering, like, that's probably like the same effect.
Yeah. Yep. And she says, doing sprints, a couple of sprints a day is another one. That's 2, and then I have to think a second for the third one. Jumping up and down, because jumping up and down actually clears out your lymph. Yep, it clears out your lymph nodes, and that's something as we get older we don't do. And I'll be watching TV and I'll get up and I'll jump for a minute or 2 minutes, just stand there while I'm watching TV because I don't have a rebounder at home. I had a trampoline I jumped on before I moved to Italy, but yeah. And so it's just just little, it seems silly, but just little things like that can really make a big difference in your mental health.
Oh, 100%.
And your body health.
Yeah, and vibration therapy is extremely powerful itself. With that lymphatic drainage that you were mentioning, there's only some of the toxic metals that we are exposed to and that end up inside of us. There's only a few ways to get them out. And vibration therapy is one of them. It shocks all that stuff into the bloodstream and helps flush it out of the system.
I actually have one of those vibration pads. I bought it off the TikTok shop.
Oh, cool.
For like
how's that working?
It's pretty good. So I try to do like 10 minutes. When I do get to it, I forgot I had it because, I've been like out of town and super busy.
Yeah.
But when I do have it, I feel much better and my lymphatic drainage like activates and I'm less swollen.
So I'm going to play stupid here because what is that? I don't know anything about that.
So it's like a vibration plate. So you might see it at the gym sometimes where people just get on this thing and it just starts vibrating.
Oh, it just vibrates?
So it just vibrates your whole body. And it's kind of like the jumping thing. So if you're
So similar. Okay.
Yeah, so you just stand on this plate and it there's different settings and it just vibrates back and forth. And it looks funny because like if you didn't know that I was standing on a vibration plate, it looks like I'm twerking or something. And I'm like, definitely not doing that. I got bad knees. So
yeah.
But the cold plunge thing, I noticed that you said it's anti-inflammatory, and that's pretty much like what my arthritis is. It's like inflamed.
Yeah.
Knees, inflamed joints. So for someone like me, that would be beneficial. I just didn't when we did it at the retreat. I just didn't want to get in that water after everybody else got in the water.
There was a lot of people there. I do not blame you.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, were you at the retreat that Lynn went to?
Yeah.
Warrior. Oh, nice.
Yes, we actually. That's why I had the opportunity of introducing cold plunging.
You talked about that on the podcast. That's right. Okay, yep, I got it.
Yeah, they bought like heavy duty, they're almost like those big Tupperware things from Ace Hardware, I think. So you can go ahead and talk about what happened at the retreat and like the immediate effects that you saw from different people, if you want.
Yeah, the retreat was amazing because there was, I would say, about 60 people there, all leaders from around the country. And so the original idea was we were going to march down to a lake that was right around from our campsite, and we were just going to, as a group, go cold plunge in an open lake. But we got there, and the lake was a little too warm to actually experience any of the effects from it. So we improvised and went to Tractor Supply and got a couple of those Rubbermaid troughs. And luckily, the well water at the campsite was coming out of the faucet at 57 degrees. So
nice.
We were set up there, and then we added some ice to get it down. And we had 4 tubs. They were all at varying temperatures for different people's needs and different intervals. Because really what I wanted from that event was to make sure everyone walked away feeling accomplished. I didn't want anyone to say, oh, I failed. Because really just getting a foot in there, you've already accomplished more than most that day.
Yeah.
I was expecting about 50% participation. I know it's a pretty scary thing to undertake, especially in a large group setting like that. And I think we were close to like 90% of the people went in and tried. And whether it was 1 minute or 3 minutes, it was the most amazing experience. There were people holding hands, going in together for support. The camaraderie and love that was in that circle. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before.
Well, I think one of the things that set off the tone was you led the meditation also by the lake before we hiked back, right?
Yes.
I think that was awesome. The meditating part I really enjoyed.
That was nice. That was the intention setting meditation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for the audience who doesn't know what that is, can you kind of briefly describe what that was and what you guys did in meditation?
Sure. It was a very simple practice. There is a free app called Insight Timer. Hang on a second. My dog is going.
Is he a boxer?
Insight Timer. I'm going to download that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's a Great Dane, and he's a great pain as well.
I had a boxer that we rehoned him. We didn't bring him to Italy because I think the flight would have killed him. But he used to growl like that too when he wanted to, arr, 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 you know.
Oh yeah, his Kong fell under my feet and he couldn't reach it, so he was throwing it. But this I used this app called Insight Timer, and it was it's a free app, and it has some guided meditations and some soothing music that actually my wife and I use it to help fall asleep at night. But there's some great daytime and morning meditations to set intentions throughout the day. So the one that we listened to, I think, it was about a 10-minute meditation, and sitting there by this lake in the woods, just having over the speaker blaring there were 7 different meditation or intentions that we're setting throughout the day, and just a lot of it was like, say yes to everything that you can. Look for opportunities to help out and give back. Even if all you can give is a smile, then give the smile. So we sat there in the same group, and then we walked about a mile back to camp, and that's when we started lining up for the cold plunge. So I'm sure, I know I got a few comments saying people really enjoyed the meditation. So hopefully that inspired a lot of people to try cold plunging and something new.
And I'm a big believer of meditation. I love doing it. That's the reason why I love yoga, because at the very end, when we do the shavasana, it's like a meditation, and you're setting an intention for the rest of the day or the end of the night or whenever you do it. So,
hey, did you see speaking of yoga, did you see where Chris is going to teach the Olympic yoga team?
wow,
They're going to add yoga to the Olympics. Yeah, I just was
amazing.
talking to him the other day. Yeah.
That's so good.
We have to get him back on the show. Talk about that.
You know what? We're gonna have to do yoga for the next summit for the next week.
Yeah, there you go.
Cold plunge and then the yoga thing.
And Matt, you bring up a very good point. Is don't be afraid to try something new. With mental health, if you have PTSD, if you're a veteran out there, if you've been doing the same old thing over and over again, it's just not working. Try something new. I know it's a little scary. I know it's a little right. I was petrified when I started doing yoga. But they had a profound effect on me in my life, and I talked about that, and it's amazing. I was the guy who would always be up front in yoga class, right? I didn't want to be in the back because I didn't want the ladies to think I was looking at them, because I was the only male in the class, and so I was always up in the front. And I think, well, they probably got a pretty good laugh, laughing at me trying to do the poses and stuff. But that's okay. I was there for me, and it didn't really matter. But after a while, I found out that none of them thought that. That thought never even entered their mind. But just one of those things as a man, that kind of bothered me. I just didn't want to. I was like, I'm not staring at you. I'm just looking at the instructor, trying to figure out what the hell to do.
Yeah, you get self-conscious.
Yeah.
So Matt, tell us for beginners what they can do if they want to start cold plunging. Like, what tools or what should they get?
Should
they talk to the doctor first?
What was that?
Should they talk to the doctor first before they start cold plunging?
If listeners are experiencing any health concerns or any health issues, I would recommend consulting with a doctor.
Absolutely.
There are some things, some conditions that is frankly, it's just dangerous to cold plunge. Something like a heart condition. We had actually someone at our retreat who had a double bypass, and we're like, hey, you need to sit this one out.
Yeah.
There are alternatives or modifications for those situations. One of the big problems is just the shock. You don't want to put someone with a weak heart in a shock situation, but they can, if they wanted to do like a cold shower, they could gradually decrease the temperature to the point where they're still getting the same benefits from cold plunge, but they're skipping the shock part, so they're not risking any damage to their heart.
That's a good point to bring up. That's an important point. Always consult your doctor when you're starting something new, or if you're thinking about changing, going off medications or things like that. Always consult your doctor first. I say this all the time. When I went on my journey of getting off medications and going to a more natural route, I did that in work with my functional doctor, and so it's important to do that.
Absolutely. And then as far as getting started, there's a lot of options, especially now, really depending on where you are. Here in San Antonio, especially in like the Austin area, cold plunging is starting to become very popular. There's a lot of like boutique spas opening up that are offering a sauna cold plunge experience. So if you wanted to try something like that, you could always just go Google cold plunging near me, and you may have there may be a shop local where you can try it out with a free day pass or a low cost entry to at least see if it's something that interests you. The nice thing is all it takes is one plunge and you'll know if it's for you or not.
Also with that, with the cold plunge, here in Italy, they had the cold saunas. And so you have the warm saunas and you have the cold saunas. Yes, I just remember that because I did
I
that
did
when I was
not
down in
know that.
Sorrento. And so the sauna is just as cold as the water. And you go in there and you sit, and it's 40 degrees or 43 degrees or something like that inside the sauna. But
Wow.
it's a cold sauna, and so that may be something that worked for you. And so I would go from the hot sauna to the cold sauna back and forth, which is very similar to doing the cold
So it's a
plunge.
fire and
Um,
ice
yeah.
therapy. That
Mhm.
Matt, you kind of touched on that when we were at the retreat.
Yes, and that's fire and ice is extremely powerful.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I would check your local area, see if there is anything that will give you access without a huge investment. Uh, After that, if you want to stay in your house, if you're self conscious and just not really sure about it, cold showers is a great place to start. My personal opinion is cold showers are worse than cold plunging because at least once you're in the water, your body will form a little thermal barrier if you're not moving. In the shower, it hits you in different spots and it's just
Yeah.
always cold.
Hey, when we were on deployments, it wasn't always guaranteed we had hot water. Sometimes
Yep.
the hot water ran out during your shower, and like it was freezing cold.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I remember in Iraq, in the wintertime, it get cold and we never had hot water, but I'll be damned, I was going to take a shower and I didn't care. I get out of the shower, my lips would be blue, but I was going to get in and I was going to enjoy it. To hell with it.
It still beats a bath by baby wipes. So
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
that's right. That's right. It's what's interesting is here in Italy, we're coming into summer. It was 30 degrees Celsius the other day, but the water coming out of the tap, if I let it run for about 5 minutes, it actually is so cold it numbs my face when I'm washing my face in the morning, coming out of the ground. So it's pretty amazing
Wow,
being that I can see Mount Vesuvius from my balcony.
oh wow.
Yeah.
that's nice.
So every morning I'll post pictures of me sitting on the balcony. Not every morning, but some mornings me drinking my coffee out there, and I'm looking at Mount Vesuvius, just making sure it's still quiet. We want it to stay quiet. We don't want it burping out anything.
You know what? I just remember this. Whenever we do the Fort Walton Beach / Destin hike over there, hey Anna, if you're out there watching, we do this. We call it the hot tub takeover, and then we do the hot tub takeover, and then in the middle of it, it's an annual thing. They go from the hot tub, and then they go into the cold, 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 cold pool, and they call it the polar plunge, our annual polar plunge. It's like definitely shocks them. And they're
Oh
out there, in their silkies doing it.
yeah. Well, the real any form of contrast therapy when you're going from hot to cold. I mean, it's traditional biohacking. When you're getting in that hot water, all your veins and capillaries they're expanding, increasing blood flow, and then you jump into cold water and it just shrinks up and sends all of your blood right back to your organs. So you're basically using your veins as an accordion for a little while, but it's a great way to rush red blood cells to your area, to different areas. It's a great way to exercise your veins and capillaries because you will improve their elasticity by the vasoconstriction. So that's actually been a very popular protocol recently, going from sauna into cold plunge, and then a couple of times going back and forth. If you do that, they do recommend, as terrible as it is, to end on the cold cycle. So you can't go back into the sauna and heat up when you're done.
These are just a bunch of drunk veterans doing this in the middle
Oh,
of the
they're gonna do what they
night,
want.
and then so they get back into the hot tub.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about, me when I was in Virginia before I came out here in the wintertime, I would go out and walk at night barefooted in shorts for about 30 minutes to an hour, walking on the snow, the sidewalk, or whatever. And to me, it was just had a very healing effect to me. I even got my 8-year-old. He would go out and do it with me. Not as long, but he would go out and do it. But there's so much benefits to, there's so many different ways to do stuff. And just like if they don't have the cold plunge there, look for the cold saunas. They do
Well,
have
I've
those
done
here in Italy.
cryotherapy also, where you step
Yeah.
into this cold, cold, cold chamber. It was
Yeah.
terrible. I don't know why I did it, but I think they said it makes your skin look younger and healthier, and
Is
it
that the
heals
hyperbaric?
cells.
No, that's not the hyperbaric. What is that?
No,
That's
it was
cryo.
cryotherapy.
Oh, cryotherapy. Yeah,
You
yeah,
go
yeah.
into this chamber, and it's literally freezing.
Yeah.
And then I think I did it for like 1 minute. So yeah, I've dabbled
Kudos for you for
cold
doing it for a
therapy.
minute. Holy crap.
Yeah, yeah. After a while, you just get numb to it, and you're like, okay, when is this gonna be over?
I know, right?
Yes. And cryo and cold plunging have very similar benefits. You're targeting the same things in your body. It's just a different modality for the same benefit.
And I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. Just remember that if you're doing the face plunge in the ice water, to hold your breath before you stick your face in the water. We don't want nobody drowning in a bowl of water.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Don't be breathing in the cold water. Just hold your breath and dunk it in, and for as long as you can, 15 seconds, 30 seconds is all you need.
And it's always, we have to give that warning. There's somebody who's probably have done it.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
like,
right?
don't touch hot things. They freaking burn themselves.
Well, if you had a fight with your spouse, don't do it in front of them because they might want to push your head in there a little bit.
Just hold it down.
Yeah. It's okay, honey.
Waterboarding. Oh my God.
But hey, with that, we need to get this wrapped up. Matt, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you coming in and talking about cold plunging. It's very important, not only for your physical health, but also for your mental health. And before we close out here, do you have any last words, Matt, before we go ahead and close the show out?
I would just say, well, first, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
And
Come back anytime.
the biggest message that I can send out to all the audience is don't be afraid to fail. Get out there and try some new things. I know social media can be pretty toxic sometimes, but failing in public is the greatest and fastest way to find out who your true supporters are. So get out there and fail a little bit. You will grow, you will learn, and at the end of the day, you will be a better person for it.
Hey, you know what? It's okay to be a little silly while you're out in public. We went to the
that's
moped track in Rome, and I was out there making silly poses on the fountain and stuff, and dancing on the icebreaker in Finland in my dry suit before I jumped in the water. So hey,
When's the next San Antonio hike?
San Antonio hike this year is December 13th. We are doing Christmas on the Riverwalk.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So we've got lots of surprises for everybody. It's going to be a great hike. And I think we're going for a night hike this year.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Same. My night hike is July 12th. So for the FAFO thing. But awesome. Okay, go ahead, Cliff. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's okay. I lost my train of thought anyway. But hey, with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys have a great and wonderful week. Just like I talked on earlier the show, you can scan that QR code there for Reads Across America to, make sure that they have the wreaths during the Memorial Day season. But also maybe you can donate some money to make sure the flag's there also for Memorial Day weekend. And, as I said early on, that Reads Across America Radio replays my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. It's super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app. And then you can find our podcast and all the other great podcasts and the great music they play. Of course, we shared you with their website for 10th Mountain Bourbon and Whiskey. They just won 2 gold medals with their bourbon. So get out there and try that. You won't be disappointed. And I want to say this real quick. I have now created a orange cello here in Italy. I got the formula down perfectly, and I've been testing it on Italians because they all drink limoncello and meloncello, pistachiocello. They don't drink orangecello, and they love it. And so now I got to start making more of it. And so when I come back to the States, I'll have it. But the orangecello is going great, and I finally got it tuned in. Big shout out to my buddy Tom out there that helped me with the formula there. Hey, along with that, you saw the video early on about the Veterans Mortgage. So scan that QR code there. Prices, interest rates are coming down, housings are coming down. So maybe we'll look for that new dream home, or maybe you just want to refinance and build that deck, or buy that cold plunge pool and get that set up in your backyard so you have it. So you go do your cold plunges on a daily basis. And also with PCS to Paradise, you can scan that there out there in Hawaii. Go find your dream home, go live on the ocean. And with that, Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you. But before I do that, just remember that, it's summertime coming up. It's May. We are brothers and sisters keepers. And so, hey, if you get that friend or buddy out there that kind of went quiet, or a family member, just give them a quick call, see how they're doing, ask them how things are going, because sometimes that can mean all the difference in the world. And with that, why don't you, Lynn, tell us all about Veterans Trash Talk and Irreverent Warriors and anything else you want to close this out with?
All right. So first, irreverentwarriors.com. If you want to see any of our Silkies hikes, if you want to join Matt in December 13th for his night hike on the Riverwalk, or me, July 12th. I think it's July 12th. Yeah. For a night hike on the beach here in Jacksonville. You can check it out at irreverentwarriors.com. If you haven't seen any of our other podcasts, or you want to shop and get t-shirts like this, check out www.VeteranTrashTalk.com. He has a dumpster fire one. I have my drinking team has a trash talking problem shirt on. And then we also have the don't be a triggered pansy on there, which everyone loves that shirt. So
that's a great party favorite.
VeteranTrashTalk.com. You can find all of our podcasts there in our shop. And again, please take care of each other. Reach out to each other. This coming weekend is going to be difficult for a lot of us for Memorial Day weekend. Yep. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to call people and just talk to them and shoot the stuff with them. And with that, we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
That's right. Take care.